I used to think growth would feel exciting, like once I started changing, healing, or improving, life would instantly feel lighter, clearer, better. But nobody talks enough about this part. Sometimes growth gets quieter before it gets happier. Sometimes becoming a better version of yourself costs you company. I'm Chris, and this is the seventh paradigm. There are reasons in life where everything around you fits the person you used to be. Your routines fit that version of you. Your habits fit that version of you. Some friendships fit that version of you. Even the way you speak to yourself fits that version of you. And then you start changing. You start wanting peace instead of chaos, health instead of neglect, depth instead of distraction, purpose instead of just passing time. And suddenly, some things that once felt normal start feeling heavy. Some conversations feel smaller. Some places feel emptier. Some habits stop comforting you. Some people stop understanding you. That can be confusing because you think growth is supposed to feel like gaining everything. But sometimes it feels like losing a lot first. Sometimes growth doesn't feel exciting. Sometimes it feels like distance. That can look like conversations with friends or coworkers starting to feel off. Connections that once felt natural now feel draining. Not because you think you're better than anybody, and not because you're becoming selfish, but because something in you is changing. You start noticing how much energy gets spent on gossip, on complaining about the same problems with no intention to change them, on staying stuck and calling it normal. And slowly, the people who once filled your orbit don't feel as close anymore. That part can be lonely because nobody talks enough about how growth can separate you before it connects you. How choosing a different path can make familiar rooms feel unfamiliar. How becoming healthier, calmer, more disciplined, or more honest can shift your relationships without a single argument. Sometimes you don't lose people through conflict. Sometimes you lose people through alignment. And that doesn't make them bad people. It doesn't make you cold. It just means the version of you that fit there is changing. Not everyone is meant to come with you into every season. Some people were for survival years. Some were for distraction years. Some were for party years. Some were for pain years. And some people will meet the version of you that's being built now. If you feel alone right now, it may not be because you're failing. It may be because you're growing. And I've learned that some people only know how to relate to the version of you that was hurting. They knew you when you were available for chaos, available for complaining, available for distraction, and available for staying the same. But when you start healing, boundaries appear, priorities change, energy shifts. And not everyone knows how to meet the healthier version of you. And again, that doesn't always make them bad people. Sometimes it just means they were assigned to an older chapter. That truth can hurt. Because growth comes with grief too. You grieve old friendships, old routines, old identities, old versions of yourself that once felt necessary. I mentioned in a previous episode that I only learned how to operate as a husband when I wasn't a husband anymore. And that truth hurt more than I expected. Because once it was gone, I realized how much of me had been built around that role. My routines, my purpose, my decisions, the way I thought about the future. For almost 20 years, being a husband wasn't just something I did. It was a part of how I understood myself. Then one day, that version of me had nowhere to go. People talk about grieving a person, but they don't talk enough about grieving the part of you that existed with them. The man who had someone to come home to. The man who made decisions as we. The man who carried responsibility that gave his life structure. The man who knew exactly who he was in relation to someone else. When that's all you've known, losing it feels unbearable. Because it's not just loneliness, it's disorientation. It's waking up and not knowing who you're supposed to be now. It's carrying instincts for a life that no longer exists. It's reaching for routines that suddenly have no place to land. And healing sometimes means accepting a brutal truth. Some versions of us aren't coming back. Not because they failed, not because they weren't real, but because they belong to a chapter that has ended. So the work becomes learning how to honor that man without trying to keep living as him. And slowly, painfully, you begin to meet the person who has to exist now. And then there's the loneliness, that in-between space where you're not who you used to be, but not fully who you're becoming either. That space can feel empty. But empty doesn't always mean something is wrong. Sometimes empty means something new is making room to arrive. Sometimes silence is healthier than noise. Sometimes peace feels unfamiliar because chaos used to feel like home. Now cooking dinner for myself and plating it like an experience feels like peace. That might sound small to some people, but it isn't. There was a time when being home alone could feel heavy, like silence meant something was missing, like a quiet night was something hard to get through. Now it can feel like a gift. I've learned to cook dishes I've never used to make, to set the plate right, to pour the drink, to enjoy the ritual of taking care of myself with the same effort I once reserved for other people. I learned to enjoy my solitude as much as I enjoy hosting friends, all in the same space. The same home that can hold laughter and dinner parties one weekend and peace, projects, and a show binged a season at a time the next. Both count. Both are real life. And yes, sometimes growth looks like finally finishing the things you said you'd do. building shelves, painting walls, fixing what's broken, creating something with your hands. But sometimes growth looks like shorts, leftovers, and 8 episodes in a row. That's allowed too. Because solitude is not a punishment. It's when you value your own company. And it's not about, oh, I get people now. It's deeper than that. It's that I get me now. I value myself now. Probably more than I ever have my entire life. I know my time has value. My peace has value. My effort has value. And my presence has value. I'm worth that meal. I'm worth the clean space. I'm worth the quiet night. And I'm worth the life I'm building. And once you know that, being alone stops feeling like less. If you're in that season right now, don't panic. If certain people feel distant, if old habits feel hollow, if your life feels quieter than it used to, it may not mean you're failing. It may mean you're growing. And not everything you lose is a loss. Some things fall away because they can't grow where you're going. And sometimes loneliness isn't punishment. It's the space your new life needs to arrive. Different life, different circle, different you. And maybe that's exactly how it's supposed to happen.